What's up, everybody? Armchair Quarterbacks here for another Week 8 recap. On this one, we've got Waddle versus Jacks on, Jacks off. That's Ken's team winning it with 104.26 points to Shawn's team over 87.18 points. So let's take a look at Ken's team here. This week, he did start Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Waddle, Keenan Allen, Josh Jacobs, Dameon Pierce, Travis Kelce, Michael Pittman, and Christian Watson. So I'm liking here Jalen Waddle. He's getting involved finally here on the offense. He had 12 targets for 7 receptions, over 100 yards. He had 121 and the touchdown. So for this high offensive powered offense, you like to see this. High powered offense, excuse me. You like to see this here, especially seeing the Dolphins have been kind of mostly targeting Tyreek Hill. And then after that, it's mostly been the running backs for them. So here we're seeing Jalen Waddle get some good usage, and you're loving that. So they've got some tough weeks up ahead. So I think the ball will get spread out a lot more, and then Jalen Waddle will still see some high usage here. Tua Tagovailoa, you're stacked there. He did throw for 324 yards and had 3 passing touchdowns and over 45 passing attempts. So if we're going to see 40 plus passing attempts, I think that's going to be great for Tua Tagovailoa and any of the pass catchers. Next week up against Kansas City, they are in London, I believe. But I think this is going to be a high scoring game here. I think it's going to be pretty good. So we'll get to that in the previews, but I think that'll be pretty good, and you'll be able to start both Jalen Waddle and Tua Tagovailoa easily. Keenan Allen here with a kind of a underperforming game. He is still seeing the targets here. It's just unfortunate, his receiving yards weren't as high as what you would like, and then he didn't get into the end zone. But I think he's still the wide receiver 1 for the team. He's beasting this year so far, so I think he'll be fine. It's just unfortunately next week and kind of the rest of the season, his schedule's not the greatest. So we'll see how the rest of the year goes for him. Josh Jacobs finally looking good here. He had 15 rushing attempts for 61 yards and a touchdown. And he was also kind of involved here with the passing game for 4 targets. Now, the Raiders, they weren't playing very well on offense. They were barely even on the field for offense. So seeing this amount of usage is really good. If he can continue this amount of usage or an increased share, depending on how often the offense is on the field in later games, I think he's going to finally start to look pretty much what you expected from him. Dameon Pierce with a disappointing game here. He had 12 rushing attempts for 46 yards, not involved in the passing game. This one was kind of already predicted to be a low-scoring game, so I wasn't expecting anything much here. And then we also had Travis Kelce with a disappointing game here, 8.8 points. I say that lightly here, disappointing for a tight end. Disappointing for Travis Kelce. For a tight end, this was pretty decent here. 6 receptions for 58 yards. So, really the only thing is he's not getting the touchdown or 100 plus yards. So if you're looking at any other tight end, this is a pretty good game. But for Travis Kelce, this is kind of disappointing. But I think he'll be okay. He's usually able to bounce back pretty quickly. Michael Pittman, the one thing I noticed with him, he had 13 targets. He is utilized a lot down the field. Gardner Minshew likes to throw it to him and Josh Downs, both of them. So I think moving forward, Michael Pittman, as long as Gardner Minshew is the quarterback there, you'll be able to play him, flex him. He's not going to be, giving you some high boom numbers like this, 16.3 points every week. But I think he can still continue to produce for you, and his schedule kind of gets a little bit better as the season progresses. Not really that many points left on the board on the bench besides Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards is currently looking like the clear lead running back here for Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson hasn't really rushed too much. He is still using his legs, trying to utilize the threat he possesses in the running game, but it looks like they're still utilizing Gus Edwards a lot. 19 rushing attempts for 80 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. So So obviously you're not going to see this 3 touchdowns consistently every week, and it was up against Arizona's defense, who's pretty bad up against the rush. But you can continue to utilize Gus Edwards. I think you might be able to flex him or start him depending on your matchup. All right, now let's take a look here at Shawn's team. We had Lamar Jackson, Davante Adams, Jamar Chase, Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones, Mark Andrews, Mike Evans, and Adam Thielen starting. Now here's another weird one here, because Lamar Jackson, the team itself did win, but Lamar Jackson himself wasn't playing too well. He only had 157 passing yards and 5 rushing attempts. So just like how I mentioned with Gus Edwards, Lamar Jackson isn't getting himself involved as much as he used to in the rush game. So if he's not going to do that, he needs to be more efficient with his passing. So really, that's all you're asking for. But overall, no interceptions. That's pretty decent. You just hope that he has a higher passing attempts and better completions. So hopefully his pass catchers aren't dropping the ball for him. It's not just that. Davante Adams with a very disappointing game here. Again, the Raiders could not get their offense on the field. And when they were on the field, they did not look very good at all besides Josh Jacobs. So I think better days are ahead, but unfortunately it's not that much better, because Davante Adams, he's been vocal about it in the past couple of weeks. He is not happy with his role or with how the Raiders are playing this year. And I think part of that is because, they let go of Derek Carr. They just said, okay, bye. So I think here, Davante Adams, he was hoping, I think you were hoping he got traded, but, it did not happen. So it's going to be interesting to see moving forward how the team handles their offensive situation, because they've been pretty lackluster as of late. Jamar Chase, we finally have a 100-yard game again. Here we go. 12 targets for 10 receptions, 100 yards. That's about 10 yards per reception and the touchdown. So I mentioned it before. The Cincinnati Bengals, their offense is starting to look a lot better, especially coming out of this bye. They had time to readjust during the bye week, had some time to rest up. So I think moving forward, the Bengals are going to look really good, and it's not going to be consistently boom weeks like this for Jamar Chase. Wide receiver position isn't very consistent all the time, but I think we're going to start to see more boom weeks again from Jamar Chase and from any of the Bengals players. Now, Jonathan Taylor here didn't outproduce his projections of 13 points, but he's still looking pretty good. 12 rushing attempts for 95 yards, and against the New Orleans tough rushing defense. However, it is looking like he's still splitting almost 50-50, not exactly 50-50, but it looks like he is still splitting with Zach Moss. So if he's splitting with Zach Moss, I don't know if he's going to be, if you can consider him to be an elite running back until he actually gets his own touches. So you're hoping, Zach Moss, unfortunately for the Zach Moss shareholders, you're hoping, as the Jonathan Taylor shareholder, you're hoping that Zach Moss, his production starts to wane, and then Jonathan Taylor can step right in there. Aaron Jones, disappointing game, but he hasn't been looking too hot this whole year. He's been dealing with injuries. He's been dealing with low usage. I don't know what it is. The Packers just aren't looking good anymore. Now, we've also got Mark Andrews here. Again, Mark Andrews, he's going to be a really good tight end no matter what. As long as you're getting, say, 5 points from a tight end, you're going to love it. He had 4 receptions for 40 yards and a touchdown. There you go. Already a great week. As long as the tight end scores the touchdown, you're loving it. Mike Evans and Adam Thielen, both pretty decent games here. Mike Evans had his game saved with the touchdown, though. He only had 3 receptions for 39 yards. If he didn't have that touchdown, you're looking at, I think it's like 5.4 points. So hopefully better days are ahead in terms of the receiving catching game, the passing game for the Bucks. But Adam Thielen over here, he's looking pretty good consistently with Bryce Young, the Panthers quarterback. 11 targets for 8 receptions. The only thing missing here is just a touchdown. So I think this chemistry that he's got, Thielen and Bryce Young, it's going to continue the rest of the season, because Adam Thielen is the veteran and Bryce Young is the rookie. So he's going to look to the veteran to throw the ball and hopefully for his safety valve. All right, now taking a look at Shawn's bench here. He left Kareem Hunt on the bench with 13.2 points. Now, Kareem Hunt is an interesting one because, the Browns, they don't have Nick Chubb this year anymore because of the injury. So you're kind of going back and forth. Is it going to be a Jerome Ford game or is it going to be a Kareem Hunt game? And I think they're splitting almost evenly. So I think you can pretty much look at, depending on the matchup, like here in week 9 up against Arizona, you might be able to flex or start Kareem Hunt. It really depends on how you feel with the rest of your starters. You might be able to slide them in there, but I think you'll be okay moving forward. Just again, I mentioned it in another video. The trade deadline is November 18. I wouldn't be content with just sticking with these players if you feel like they haven't been producing very well for you. Like Aaron Jones here, we know he hasn't been very consistent, but you can't really drop him because he's one of those top players. Like if he goes off, he's going to be really good. So I think you might want to look to try to package him in a trade with somebody. Maybe go with Aaron Jones and Adam Thielen, trade him off to somewhere. So I would continue to look to try to make some moves here. So that way, not just Shawn, but everybody else, you can improve your standings in the league. All right, but that's it here for this recap. Congrats on the win there, Ken, and good luck next week to you both. But we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.